Hello everyone again and welcome to this particular class video, and in here we're going to explore some interesting facts about how to determine variables, values in an equation. And in this particular video, take note that we need to first take note of the bell work, which means please your notes, write down the bell work and also follow along with me, because this is going to be important when you are going to be working on the next page of your specific worksheet that is on your Apparel workspace. So first off is that for our part 2 of our equation, we need to look at the goal, which is when you're given an equation where you're given a variable, and the variable is, in this case, let's say is t plus like 1 and is equal to, let's say, 2, and you're asked to find what t is, what is the number, the specific number that makes this particular equation true, which makes this equation to be equal to 2. It means that you need to try two ways to go about it. One is either you go through inspection, which means you try numbers, like you can try 1, try 2, try 3, 4 t to see which number actually works for this particular equation to make your answer to be equal to 2. Or the other way to go about it is by performing an undoing method of operations, which means that if you are reading your equation from left to right, you actually need to notice that to get to 2, all we have to do to t is to add 1, which means that to go in the reverse direction, we are going to start with 2 and we're going to do the opposite operation, which is you subtract 1 to get what t is in this particular question right here. So we're going to do these two methods here in solving these particular problems. And the problems here, case 1 is by inspection, which means we're going to try numbers and see that as a way to get to that particular answer, which is what is the variable that makes this equation here to be equal to 22. And what we see is that we know that a number minus 14 gives you 22, which means that s must be a big number, like a really big number, to get to a positive number. So the big number must be greater than 14. So if you try 15 for s, it doesn't work. Try 16, and then as you move up in integers, positive integers, you should figure out that, hey, s should be some number around, let's say this number here should be, let's say 3, and this number here should be 2, so it should be maybe 32. So a good way to check is to put 32 into this particular equation right here to see what s will give me. And hopefully s should, when you minus, if you take 14 away from 32, you should get 22. So let's see. So to check, what we do is we put our s to be, in this case, 32, and let's see for ourselves. 32 minus 4, and you're like, oh no, it is not 12. It is actually, thinking about it, it is around, this is 8, and they take away 1, and that is 18. So 32 is not a good number. So let's try another number. Let's go higher. And if we go 34, you're like, 34 doesn't work. Let's try 35. Doesn't work. Let's try 36. So in this case, let me try 36 and see for myself. So if I change 32 to now 36, and in here we have our number here to be now 36. Let's see whether this will give us the right number. So in here, 36, 6 minus 4 gives you 2, and 3 minus 2 gives you 1. 2, 3 minus 1 gives you 2, and yes, voila. Yes, in this case, our specific equation, for it to be true, s has to be equal to 36 in order for our specific equation to be 22 as the final answer. And that's the same thing you're going to do in B. Now B is different from A. A has s minus 14, or you can say 14, subtract 14 from s and you will get 22. Now in this case here, you have s to be a really small number that is hopefully less than 0 as integer, and you want to figure out what number will be taken away from 14 to give you a really positive number, which is 22. So it means that your s has to be very small. You don't want to go a big number of s, which means you don't want to go 36, because you're going to get even smaller number that is less than 22. So to get 22 as the big number, you need s to be really small, that is most likely below 0. So you start -1, put -1 for s. Does that work? Not really. And once you go about it, you should figure out that, hey, I think 14 in this case should be a number here for s. When we think about it, we should figure what this number is, and the number should be somewhere around, let's say 18 or so, but we're not sure about it yet. We're not sure. So let's try 18. So let s to be equal to -18. So if you try s to be equal to -18, will you get 22? Maybe, we don't know. When you try it and you figure it out, then you notice that not really, it won't work in here, because what you notice is 14 minus, in this case, minus 18, and what we have here is minus times minus is a positive value. So it means that two signs that are the same, you add, which means that it is 14 plus 18. This will give you around the number, which is 232. So this doesn't work. That means we're going to go 10 digits above -18, and let's try this time 8, and let's see what -8 will give us. And once you try that number -8 here, let's see what our answer will be in this particular case right here. So if we try -8, what we notice is that 8 negative times negative, or negative negative, they are the same signs, that is positive value, and therefore we should notice that, hey, 14 plus 8, that will give you 22. So yes, in this case we figure out what the number is, which is that s has to be equal to -8 in order for our answer to be 22. And so that is how you perform your specific inspection method to determine your final value for that variable to be equal to the final answer in the equation that is given. So yeah, so that is how you're able to go about it right here. And so this is another way to go about it in this kind of complicated question. I don't think you'll come across this question here, but I think that by inspection you should be able to, play with it in a smooth way, because you're given small numbers. So given small numbers, you should be able to at least, give it a shot, and it should be good to go. So take note here that in this particular part, we know that we notice that n here has to be a really big number, because to get a positive number, which is in this case 10, we need to have a really big number for from our fraction here, in order for it to be take away from it, in order for we to get 10. So we know that in here 10, if we try n to be 8 over 2, which is 8 divided by 2, gives you 4. That won't work, because 4 minus 4 is equal to 0, but we need our value to be equal to 10. So let's try a really big number for n. So let's say n is 20. So if n is 20, n, which is 20, we try, and in this case, if n is equal to 20, let's check to see whether that is right. So 20 over 2 minus 4, and what we do is that 20 divided by 2, in this case right here, that gives you 10, and then 10 minus 4, that gives you 6. So yeah, 20 won't work here. So if 20 will work here, let's try another number, bigger number. Will go up because we're getting close to 10. So if you try, let's say 24, let's see what 24 gives us. So if you erase this and make it 24, and this one as well to be 24, let's see what number we're going to have here. So taking this into consideration, 24, this is 24, 24 divided by 2 gives you 12 here. And so in this case, we have 12 minus 4, that will give you 8. So we need to try another bigger number as well. So it means we're going to go to 28, and let's see what 28 gives us. So in here, we're going to erase it, and we're going to see what this gives us here. Eraser, erase, and erase. So we're going to try 28, and let's see what 28 gives us. So 28 divided by 2, in this case here, gives you 14. 14 in this part here is taking away 4 from 8, and what you have is 10. So yes, we figured out what the number is, which is actually n to be equal to 28, and so n has to be equal to 28 as your final answer in order for this equation here to be true. And so this is going to be different, of course, from this particular question right here, where in this part here 2 is multiplied by n. So it means that by multiplication you're going to figure out what is going to be taking 4 away from that big number here to give you 10. So if you try n in this case and you think about what the number is, you expect that this number should be 14, which means you need the combination of 2 multiplied by n to be equal to 14, so that 14 minus 4 will give you 10. That means n must be 7. So that means n must be 7 in order for 2 to be multiplied by it by checking. So it means that 2 times 7, where n is equal to 7, and that will give you 14, and then 14 minus 4, that will give you what? 10. And so if you have 10 as your final answer, which agrees with what you have right here, then yes, n has to be equal to 7 indeed for this equation here to be true. And so that is how you go about inspection method to figure out what that specific variable is right here. So on our next video, you're going to figure out how to do the undo method in order for you, in this case here, to figure out easily without guessing numbers what the variable value is that makes this equation here true. Why this one here setup is different from this setup right here, which is similar to what we did by inspection in here versus what we have right here. So we're going to see whether if we do the undo method here, let's see whether the answer we get here is the same answer as what we got in this particular method here, which is by inspection, and likely as well with this right here. So thanks for following me through this, truly appreciate it. Please hit a comment down below, let me hear your thought. By that way I can talk to you soon. Stay smart as always and believe in yourselves.